Hi folks, welcome to this video, Some Frontier video. My name is Jay Wakefield. Now, in January, some of you will remember I actually showed you around a full ATX chassis and made clear my intention to build a server. And since then, what I have been doing is experimenting. What I have done is, well, to build the server, it was always going to take a wee bit of time to get the components together and, you know, just kind of get everything set up. But what I have been doing in the meantime is I decided to, well, a few weeks ago, as some of you will know, I was given a Dell Optiplex, well, I was given a pair of Dell Optiplex 740s, and that got me thinking, what if I were to build an interim server? You know, just something to use while I waited to save up for, you know, the parts to my main server. I'll get the hard disks, the ones that I want to actually use in my main server, so that they're bought, and then I'll just kind of stuff them into a Dell Optiplex, install Debian, and configure the server. Sounds simple enough. Except for the fact that the Dell Optiplex 740s are at best a wee bit quirky. So I decided to use the Dell Optiplex 380, which has been in my bedroom, the first one of those that I bought. I mean, this thing's been with me now for 2 years and it's served a few purposes. It started as my media center, but I decided to replace that with another Dell Optiplex 380, and this one went on to become Windows 7/Windows XP machine. But recently it's been acting as my server. You know, I thought with the help of LML3 and Sansu 350A, you know, I've been able to actually oh, jings. I've been experimenting a bit, you know, with the creation and the running of a server. But now I have finally managed to get together some components to actually build the server that I wanted to build in the big full ATX tower. So let's go and take a look at them now. Okay, so there's a couple more components that are not included in this shot, and there's a good reason for that. I am actually going to need the space to work on what I do have. But let me show you around. Let me walk you through what is on the table at the moment. First off, we have this motherboard in bubble wrap. This is a Gigabyte G41 MT motherboard. And I know what you're thinking. Yes, it is a bit older. It's a socket 775 board. It's a late Core 2. It's meant for late Core 2 duos or Core 2 quads, you know, things like that. You know, and I am aware that the chipset is 7 years old now. The architecture is 7 years old. But I'm going to have to explain why I've done this. Why I'm basically building a big Optiplex 380. Well, the problem is British pricing, okay? Now, in the States, a lot of people actually switch computers quite frequently, and certainly a lot of businesses do, and what have you. So there's quite a lot of surplus, you know, and that in turn drives prices down. In the UK, there isn't that surplus. We just can't afford to keep changing computers that much. We'll be able to afford it even less if the Tories get their way. So as a result, that and I'm currently unemployed, which is not the best thing in the world, I, you know, have had to actually kind of revise down my ideas. Now, running my Dell Optiplex 380 has made me realise that actually a Core 2 Duo being used as the centre of the server isn't necessarily a bad idea. You know, it's actually worked really well in the Optiplex, but you know, if I do want to change down the line, you know, that is going to be perfectly possible. So here's the board in question. It's only a micro ATX board, but I am using the full ATX case not for expandability on the motherboard, but more for storage of disks. Now, this board, as you can see, it has a processor mounted in it. It's a Celeron, but that's going to be taken out because I have this right here, which is a Core 2 Duo E8400, the same as what's in that Optiplex down there. 3 GHz dual core. Nice. But what makes this board good for this job is it has 4 SATA ports on it. Now I know some people would say that, you know, I really could do with having 6. Well, that's nice. But again, you know, it's all a matter of money. Yeah. You know, it's... Yeah. Anyway, so that's the board and the CPU sorted. I also have this cooler. It's in a seems to be in a Chinese box, but according to eBay, it's actually a Thermaltake cooler, although I'm not entirely sure. I don't know. But it does come with a few bits. It comes with a back plate, which is quite good. Although it's going to be fun and games to try to screw that down. Comes with a couple of sachets of thermal paste, but we're not going to be using those. We're going to be using some Arctic silver. And it comes with the cooler itself. Look at that. Okay, and it's a bit thin, but hopefully it'll do. So, I guess without further ado, oh yeah, and as well, there is an IO shield for the motherboard, but we'll deal with that. We'll deal with that in due time. Anyway, let's get started with the build. First of all, I will need to set up a screwdriver, you know, for plugging the CPU up to the screwing the CPU down into the back plate. Now, first job is removing that Celeron. The best way to do that, and this board is on a bit of paper by the way, probably not the best thing, but hopefully it'll do. First, the way to do that is to lift up the CPU door. There is a way of doing this. I know there is. There just is. Yep, there we go. Excellent. Hang on a minute. There we go. And that is one Celeron removed. I'm just going to have a look at the pinout for this CPU. As you can see on the 775 socket, what you have is these two keys, one at either side, and they match up with notches on the motherboard, on the CPU socket. So, you know, it helps you to correctly mount the CPU. Every CPU has them. Now, this Core 2 Duo was very comically packed. It was wrapped up in bubble wrap and then taped to this bit of cardboard which came from a box of cat food. Nice. I suppose that will make it useful when, you know, I decide to use the watch cat command. So all the software work has been done actually, because, you know, I set it up on the Optiplex with the help of LML3 and Sansui 350A. So, you know, because it's a very, very basic Linux install, it's basically just a shell. That's literally all it is. I should actually be able to go ahead and, you know, just kind of move the hard drive over. There shouldn't be the kind of problems that you get with Windows, but you're still hoping. The CPU looks like it's been cleaned, which is good. So literally all I have to do, and you want to be very careful with this, is I literally want to just pop it down in there. You really don't have to force it with the Core 2 series. And what we're going to do is just I'm just going to double check my working here. And then just kind of bolt this down. Excellent. Now, that's good. What I want to do now is, and this is going to be really quite difficult actually, because installing a CPU cooler with a back plate. But I just want to add literally a pea-sized drop of CPU cooler. Good. There we go. Now, time to actually add the cooler. So literally there'll be holes in the board where the push pins of a regular socket 775 processor would normally go, but we're not going to be using those. We're going to be using screws. What we want to do is attach this back plate. You know, we have to do it kind of very, very kind of carefully as well. There we go. And you see the screw holes will appear at the front of the motherboard. Right. Okay, so the fan is in place. Now, one last wee touch. CPU fan connector needs plugged in. Oopsie. Oops. 1, 2, 3. Alright, that's interesting. That's a 4-pin connector. Oh well. Hopefully it should still go. Okay, so that is good. So now what we want to do is actually mount the board into the case, and I hope this CMOS battery is still good. So here's the case, and as IBM ThinkPad R51 would point out, it looks very similar to the case that he has built his new 2006 custom build computer into. badly scalded my hands last night, so yeah, anything that gets caught on... I mean, they're better now, actually. A friend told me to apply toothpaste to the burns, and it worked really, really well. Anyway, trouble is, anything that gets caught, I blooming know about it. Now, so, this computer then. I have the feeling that the front USB ports, I'm going to have to do these. Yes, I am. Nice. Going to have to do these manually. This is quite an old case. So it actually has more of a wiring loom rather than a plug. Okay, so the front audio is actually a lot more simple. Yeah, it's just two of these cables. Right, I don't have to worry about that then, because, let's be honest here, it's a server. You can be using audio of any kind. Right. Now, before installing the server, what I need to make sure of, well, before installing the main board, what I need to make sure of is that the pins will align. So let's have a look. We've got a pin there, a pin there, pin there, and a pin there. So I think we should be okay. Well, a standoff, rather. However, before we do actually install the motherboard, oh well, there comes my screwdriver. Before we do install the motherboard, I need to add the I/O shield. It's kind of essential as that. Also, I quite fancy getting my screwdriver back. So, I/O shield time. So there it is. What we need to do, all we need to do, is the I/O shield has a metal lip all the way around it, with wee notches on, and all we need to do is just pop it into this hole where the I/O shield that's actually designed for the I/O shield, and it will just kind of pop into place. And it really is as simple as that. A wee bit loose, but that should be okay. Now, it's time to put the motherboard in there. There we go. I'm just going to double check that we've got the pins, we've got the standoffs aligned correctly. In a minute, I'm just going to... I should probably wear a ponytail. Yes, they are. So, it's now time for screws. But before I do that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a longer shaft to this screwdriver. No innuendo, Nintendo, man. Now, hopefully, I do get a bit scared sometimes now when putting screws into standoffs, because I mean, the number of times now that I've had screws get stuck in standoffs and been unable to sort them, you know, get them off anymore. Yes, just not the best feeling in the world. So the motherboard is now fitted to the server. So we want to maybe actually fit some parts. You know what, I'm going to plug this floppy drive cable in, because, yeah, why not? We now have floppy disk drive support on our brand new server. Nice. However, there is a slight issue. See, the memory that I want to use for this server is in the Dell Optiplex, but I don't really want to be discombobulating that until I'm sure that this works. So what I'm going to do is I've got, you know, a couple of spare modules here, and then, oh my goodness, literally what I'm going to do with those, well, at least with one of them actually, is I'm just going to drop it in, you know, just temporarily, just to check that the system will actually boot up, you know, and that I've got it all correctly configured and that it's all running tickety-boo. And once I've confirmed that, then I'll start transferring parts from the server into here. Now I did think about keeping the optical drive as well, but I've actually decided against that. I can install Linux through a USB, and to be honest, I really want to put this optical drive inside my Dell Dimension 4100 because the one that's in there is, well, it's not feeling too great. So, next thing to do is to connect up all of the case switches. So, I'll do that. But in order to do that, like I said before, I'm actually probably going to need a wee bit of a helping hand from the user manual. So I'll go and get that. Well, that took a lot longer than I was expecting because, yeah, Bluetooth file transfer. I probably need to update the Bluetooth hardware on my main machine or just go straight for a USB cable. But I have the manual plus the front panel pinout on my tablet now, so I can actually kind of follow it. And, you know, because I know where the keys are, that's quite good. I can actually, you know, I can actually follow where things need to go. Because I can just, well, without meaning to sound childish, I can actually kind of feel where things need to be. Now, right, so that looks to be front panel. So that can move on out the road. HDD LED, now that is good, that is good. So usually the positive cable, there's two different coloured cables on these leads. There'll be a coloured one and a white one, and the coloured one will be the positive lead. So you want to make sure that you actually plug it in correctly on the positive and negative terminals on the header, otherwise it just will not work. Reset switch. Reset. Yeah. Okay, that goes right next to the connector. The next one would be the chassis intrusion connector, but I don't have one of those. What I like about the power LED is on this case, it's actually two connectors rather than it being molded into one. Because some motherboards have the 3-pin power LED out, some boards have the 2-pin one. So on this, basically you need to just kind of find the plus and the minus terminals and then just plug it in where it tells you to. So let's do that now. That's actually quite good. Now let's have a look at what we have next. We have another switch that seems to be unidentifiable, which is, well, that doesn't help me, if I'm honest. Now we've got M/B SW. So yeah, this case has not made things very easy. Right, there's only one thing I can do here. Trial and error, really. Right. Now, there's one final thing I'm needing to be able to render this system hopefully bootable. A power supply. Now, for a server, you really could do with getting something that is of good quality. LML3 and Samsung 350A suggested a Seasonic power supply. So here it is. Now this is quite a low wattage one, but because it's got two 12-volt rails, it should be fine for what I need. Because literally my server is a Core 2 Duo based file server that that does Proxmox and Plex. And a couple of other things. But I mean, it's not doing anything too larry or anything like that. It's not sitting in a data center trying to meter out permissions to 100,000 users. Well, these cables obviously being kind of zip tied together. Luckily, I have a pair of scissors. And you can't see anything that I'm doing right now, so I will just pan and scan over here. Now, I hate taking scissors to power supply zip ties. I'm always scared that I'm going to cut something. Okay, so this next part I've decided I am going to video for LML3's benefit. This part is called wiring up the power supply to the motherboard. Now, you'll have a 20+ 4-pin ATX connector. It'll be slightly keyed, so it'll only go in the one way. So what we're going to do is we're going to just throw this in, like so. However, on newer motherboards we have a 4-pin connector, and that is for the CPU. Now, I have to be honest, the first time I encountered a board of this type, I didn't actually realise such a thing existed. It was my 2006 custom built, and I spent ages going, why won't this thing boot? And it recently happened to LML3 with one of his builds. Anyway, actually he's got a video up about repurposing old hardware using Linux, and I really am looking forward to watching it. Anyway, so got the CPU connector. That's in. There is a floppy drive in this case, like I said, and we've plugged it in. So you know what? I've decided it's getting connected up and it's going to get power, because why not? It could be useful, could come in useful, especially you know, if I decide to put a H310 RAID card in there. I could need, according to Samsung 358, I probably need to reflash that using FreeDOS, and you know, what better way than a good old flippity floppity drive. Right. So that is all connected. Right, so memory is installed, and there are no hard disks installed at all. So I think this is a perfect time to power on and see how much I've broken this thing. And, you know, on a sidebar we'll also see if I can get 6-foot flames to shoot out the back of it, to use a UXW billism. So, what I'm going to do, just going to get rid of these spent zip ties, and I know my cable management is terrible. You really do not need to comment on that. So, what I will do is I will go find a keyboard and a plug. I'll plug it into the TV. So I'll be right back. Right, what I'm going to do is I'm going to load the optimized defaults. I don't want any of the clocking features. Okay, the date and time are almost correct. So it's the time is 12. Let's just say 12:25. It will obviously be corrected by the server. Floppy drive. Advanced BIOS. Hard disk boot priority. Quick boot. First boot device. Second boot device. Right, that's all very well and good. Advanced chipset, onboard VGA, yep. Integrated peripherals, yes there are some. Power management, power event wake up. Power on by ring. PMP PCI config, that's fine. PC health status. Okay. Halt on no errors, because I want to run this in a headless kind of a way, as in with no mouse or keyboard or anything like that. Now, next thing I want to do is test to see if the front USB ports are working. But I seem to have misplaced my Linux flash drive, so I'll have to use this Windows 10 one instead. All I really want to do is just check if it boots. Right, and for those who need to know, those who want to know, the CPU fan, there was just a plug in the way. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to attempt to boot from this USB flash drive. I am thinking that, yeah, F12 is the boot menu. Yep. Okay, one of the USB ports works. Absolutely brilliant. So what I'm going to do is just power completely down, because I just want to check that the CPU fan will spin back up on command. Yep, the CPU fan is spinning right the way back up again. Now to totally wrecked this F12 key. we go. Once again, I want to boot from USB HDD. And there we have it. It's actually booting. So that is brilliant. That is a result. So, there's going to be a couple things need to happen now. I need to power this down. I need to delete the net rules off of the Dell and bring that down. Take all the stuff out of the Dell and put it in here. And just in case anyone is wondering, I plan to actually use it as my Windows 7 desktop rather than using it as a toilet, which you know, that was a very helpful suggestion from Florida, but it's not one that I'm going to take. Okay, so now we're at the terminal. We're SSH'd into MILF, and what we're going to do is literally delete the persistent net rules file. So to do that, I want to type sudo, because I want to do this as root, rm for remove, /etc/udev/rules.d/70, and I'll press the tab key to complete that. It'll ask me for my sudo password, and then that's it. File's been deleted. So, one sudo shutdown now. Well, my server is now built, and I'm sure you can see the mess that my cable management is in, but you really do not need to comment on that. But apart from that, I mean, I was amazed. I mean, it's just basically powered itself up. You know, once I've got the hard drives in the right places and what have you, it's just basically a case of powering it up and, you know, just letting it go to work. Rebuilt the network file. So, couple things I need to do now is, well, first of all, I need to get rid of these connections. Don't need them. Second of all, I want to fill this PCI blank. Right. Okay, so the next stage is to put the covers back on. There we go. Good. Well guys, the server is running. Deleting the persistent net rules file worked, and it has actually rebuilt itself. Although there's a couple more tests that I'm going to have to do on that, which we'll do them on camera. Anyway, what I would like to do is actually just check a couple things. I want to check the RAID array, and I actually want to, well, I actually put a third hard disk in there. It was the 1 terabyte that was originally in the Dell Optiplex 380. The reason that drive is in there is because I have realised that I'm actually running out of space. While I have two 2 terabyte hard drives, 2 times 2 terabyte hard drives, in my server, the way they are configured in the RAID 1 array means that there's actually only 2 terabytes of space. The other 2 terabytes is redundancy, which basically means anything that is dropped onto one drive is mirrored to the other. Anyway, what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at the RAID array just to see if it's running, and then I'm actually going to format that 1 terabyte hard drive and make it available as another network share. I'm only going to be doing this temporarily because what I really want to do now that I've moved the server to the bigger case is actually get 2 more 2 terabyte hard drives and install them in a RAID 10 array with the other two. So I'll have 4 terabytes of space and 4 terabytes of redundancy, which will be much better. Anyway, enough of the chit chat. Let's get logged in. I'm just going to put my password in. Excellent. So that's me logged into the server. What I'm going to do now is watch cat proc slash, I think it's md stat. As we can see, the RAID array seems to be absolutely fine. So what we've got is RAID 1 using SDA2 and SDB2. 171,968 blocks, super 1.2, 2/2. You'll see there it says U. And what that is it's telling me that there's 2 hard disks and that both of them are operational. So, I'm going to see if I can run okay, so I've not done this before. What Webmin is a front end to actually run, to actually be able to perform maintenance on your server. As you can see, it's showing, you know, processor information, drive temperatures, 2 hours and 30 minutes, system uptime, running processors 138, CPU load averages, CPU usage, and all that good stuff. As you can see, my hard disk space is a wee bit thin on the ground. So what we're going to do is we'll go to the partitions on local disks. So we've got the 2 Hitachi drives. We don't want to touch these. These make up our RAID array. We do not want to touch these. However, this one, we can. It's got 2 NTFS partitions at the moment. What we want to do, really, is to format that. So, I ran into a couple of problems, but the partitions that I had created, apparently, well, something went wrong and I ended up with a 54 gig partition, sorry. Or it could have been megabytes, I don't know. And I couldn't write anything to it. And when I went to reboot the system, well, I deleted the partition, completely forgot that said partition would be living forevermore in the memory of the fstab file, and of course that upset the whole system when I foolishly rebooted after doing some updates. So I actually had to plug a monitor and keyboard into the server, and yeah. So, you know, with that done, I had to then go into the fstab file, /etc/fstab, and comment out the line that I no longer needed, which was referring to the partition on SDC, which no longer existed. Once that was done, save the buffer, reboot, and the server came up as normal. So I'm back in Webmin. I've taken a closer look at the instructions. I've wiped /dev/SDC, which is the third hard disk, which is a 1 TB volume. And yeah, this basically what's happening now is I am formatting this new file system on dev/SDC. It's an ext3 partition. The idea is I'm going to have all my CD images accessible on that. It'll be a backup of them. But when I come to rebuild, when I come to buy the other 2 hard disks, the 2 TB ones, I will be plonking those in the server instead, and I will be basically using them to extend my current RAID array. I will let this go ahead and format. This is going to take some time, so it's kind of best to just let it get on with it and get up to something else, like make a cup of tea. And I'll be back once we've formatted it and we're ready to actually put some directories in it and share them out over Samba. Well, would you take a look at that? The file system is now complete, is now on there. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to have another kind of look at this. So yep, partition is 953.84 gigs, and I'm going to make the partition on just 1 TB drive. Something simple that I can remember it. You know what? I'm just going to leave the default settings. Yep, save and mount at boot. That's exactly what I want to do. That will add it back to the fstab file. Right. Now, before I do anything, I want to go back to this. So what I've done is basically given read, write, execute permissions on that partition. So hopefully okay, I can actually start writing stuff. Okay, so I'm going to save that. Oops. I wasn't supposed to do that, was I? Yeah, that wasn't... Okay. Yep, and it's written it out. And there we go. Okay, excellent. That is brilliant. We have actually got a writable drive. Excellent, 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 excellent. So, with that done, what I'm going to do now is make a new share. There we go. Excellent. So I have a share on the /1TB drive /images. So what I plan to do with that is go back into Webmin, right, and I'm going to go back to system information. Actually, what I need to do is go down to servers and go to the Samba Windows file sharing server. As you can see, I've got a lot of shares cut up here. So what I want to do is create a new file share. I want to call this images, and then I want to share 1TB drive images. Automatically create directory. Okay. Create with permissions 777. Available, yes. Browsable, yes. Share comment, don't need that. Good. And then what I want to do is go into that, and then I want to go into access control. I want to set it to writable. And that's all I need in that. And then file permissions. I want to set everything to read, write, execute. Yep, can do delete read-only files. And then I will go to save and then return to the share list. Now we need to see if this works. So in order to do that, I want to go to this PC, and then I want to go to map network drive. I know I have quite a few on here. It's a bit of a disgrace actually, but hey. Map. Okay, we'll map it as L. So so there we go. Oh dear. Okay, bird brain that I am. We need to enable guest access. What an apocalyptic dingleberry I really am sometimes, seriously. Okay, we've actually done it. So let's see if we can actually do anything with this file. We'll make a folder. Excellent. Can go into that. Can delete it. Let's see if I can make a file. Nice. I'm actually able to get into the file. There we go. So there we have it. The server now, I think, is fully set up. So here's a good idea. If you're wanting to, check that I'm wanting to reboot the server. Now I want to know when it comes back up. So what I can do is ping /-t 192.168.0.10. And basically what that's doing is it's saying, send a wee packet of data to the server and see if it responds. And do this basically non-stop. And the IP address is that of the server. Oopsie. Ping 1-t 192.168.0.10. Okay, so that's a way doing what it's got to do. Like, bing, 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 bing. So what I can do is sudo reboot now. And of course Putty will complain because the SSH connection has been dropped. And then the server will basically go through its reboot sequence. And then as it starts to reboot, what will happen is it'll tell me that the request is timed out and that the host is unreachable. And there we are. The server is once again back up. And if I go to restart session, I can log in. And then away we are. We're actually back on the server. Anyway, that concludes this video. I know it's been a bit of a long one, tiring one, but I hope you've all enjoyed it. If you have, please feel free to subscribe to Videos on Frontier. Also, please feel free to like Videos on Frontier on Facebook and to follow me on Twitter. Until then, thank you all for watching this video and please join me for our next one. Cheery bye.